Hope you're all having a wonderful day today. Guys, today I have in front of me the Anastasia Beverly Hills Subculture palette. I had already filmed a first impressions. It was mostly edited, and then I saw that a lot of people were having issues with their palettes. So I was like, well, I'm gonna dig into this a little bit more and play with it a little bit more before I got my thoughts out to you guys. And I've had this for almost a week now. I've created several different looks with it, so I think I have a pretty good grasp on how it works and all that. So I'm gonna tell you my thoughts on it, and then I will have swatches at the end. So anyway, let's get into it. So I just want to start off with a little side note really quick. I've seen that a lot of people are having issues with their palette in regards to how soft it is, all the kick up, and some people are actually hitting pan on their palettes already, which that's not really good, especially when you're paying $42 for a palette. That's not cheap. Tips to work with this palette: I just tap it in there once or twice, lightly, knock off the excess, and then go about my work. That is enough to already put, you know, a good amount of product on my brush. I feel that if you're gonna go in there any harder, or if you're swirling your brush in there, that's not a good idea, because one, that's gonna use a lot of product, and number two, whenever you have that much on your brush and you go onto your eyelid, it's not gonna work. You're not going to be able to create good looks with that. It's going to get muddy, it's going to get patchy, it's just going to be really intense. With this, you don't need to tap in and work, tap in, work, tap in, work. It's really pigmented with one go. You'll see that in the swatches. But I am in no way saying that that is an excuse for people to be already hitting their pan and stuff. I do think that there are some faulty palettes. But yeah, if you do feel that there really is a problem with your palette, I would try reaching out to customer service and see what they have to say about it. But anyway, that was a little side note. Let's get into what I think about my palette. Subculture palette is the sister to the Modern Renaissance palette. I feel that this palette is pretty well known in the makeup community for having really buttery, smooth, pigmented shadows. And from what I've seen, this has mostly positive reviews. This one, on the other hand, I got mine and I absolutely loved it. And so I was really surprised whenever I saw that there were a whole bunch of negative reviews out there. And it seems like there might be some bad batches going out to some people. So this palette right here, it has 14 shades. Out of the 14 shades, 3 of them are shimmer, being Cube, Electric, and Adorn, and then the rest of them are matte. And they are really pigmented mattes. Like I mentioned, they are on the softer side, so they do create some kick up. And then if you're not tapping your brush off after picking up the product, then it can create fallout on your face, and nobody wants that. Out of the shimmers, I would have to say that Adorn is my favorite. I love the colors of Electric and Cube, but they were not as easy to play with. You know, sometimes you can get shimmer and you can just glide it across your eyelids and it's nice and pigmented and easy to work with. Cube and Electric are kind of on the stiffer side. I was going in with my brush and applying it to my lid, and where I applied it, it didn't go on sheer, but it also did not want to spread across my whole eyelid. It's like where I patted on my eye is where it was, and it wanted to stay there and didn't really want to glide the rest of the way. The same thing with Electric. With these two shades, I would have to dip my brush in, apply it right here, dip my brush in, apply it to the next section, dip my brush in, apply it to the next section. There's no dipping it in and it gliding completely across the eyelid. Also, I would suggest not using your fingertips with these two because whenever I was doing my swatches, the finger swatches, I noticed it started creating kind of like a hard pan, and that's not good. But they are really cool colors, so that's kind of a shame. Next we have the shade Rowdy. It appears to be this dark plum color in pan, but I was filming a tutorial with this the other day, and whenever I applied it to my lids, it came off way darker than it looks in the pan. It looked almost black. This palette does have a lot of kick up. I'm showing you right here, you know, lightly tap it and you can see that there is dust coming off. But with my palette, it seems that it's pretty consistent with how the Modern Renaissance palette was, because whenever I did that to this one, once again, a lot of kick up and there's just a lot of dust going all over the place, which is a shame because you see all of that and you're like, well, that's product that I paid for that is just getting lost into the abyss that will never go onto my face where it deserves to be. So I've had this for exactly 5 days. I wanted to show you, I've been using this palette just about every single day so I can give, you know, a good review on it, and this is what it looks like so far. I just want to show you how much of each color is gone, and I can say that out of all of them, not really a big deal whatsoever, but the color Mercury right here is kind of concerning. You can kind of see where other people are coming from with their palettes. I only tapped into it a couple of times with the brush to do the swatches, and already there's a pretty huge divot in it. So if other people's entire palettes are made made up of shadows that are performing like Mercury does right here, losing that much product in 1 or 2 pats, then I can understand why people are, you know, getting kind of upset about it. But in comparison to what I've seen with other people's palettes, my palette isn't really problematic whatsoever. I am loving my palette, so I'm sad to see that there are a lot of people who aren't enjoying theirs. And before anybody says anything, I just want to stop you right here. This is not a sponsored thing. I purchased this with my own money. I have no intentions of sucking up to any brands ever whenever I'm not happy with something. So yeah, these are 100% my thoughts. I'm not just trying to be like, ooh, I'm trying to kiss somebody's butt, because that's not my personality. But yeah, I'm really happy with my palette. I'm not having many problems with them except for what I already told you. And to me, not a big deal. The matte shades are extremely pigmented. You can see in the swatches that just one swipe, and I'm just pressing with a really light hand and everything. You can see that the brush swatches are also extremely pigmented. I think the only one that wasn't as intense was Tamed right here, which did look a little bit chunky. They all blend out so softly. You don't have to sit there and work with it over and over and over. They just, it works so well. They work so well for me. And you know, whenever you start getting into the darker shades with mattes, that's usually when I'm like, okay, this one might have a little bit of trouble blending out, but I've used Rowdy, Untamed, Access, All-Star. I don't think I've used Fudge in the crease to blend out yet, but a lot of these dark shades I have used as the crease color to blend out, and they blended out just fine. They didn't leave any harsh lines, and they looked real smooth and soft. Blended into the other colors without a problem, so I'm really happy with that. Just a tiny bit goes a long way, so you don't have to sit there and keep on dipping and applying, you know? Just one dip, one apply, and you're good, unless if you want to create like some really intense depth or something, of course. But yeah, it's exciting. Those are my thoughts on this palette. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. It really is a shame that other people are experiencing just not so good times with their palettes, because I know how that is. Whenever I did a review, I think on the Urban Decay Full Spectrum palette, I had what I feel was a dud palette, and I know that there are some people who really loved theirs, and I've had so many comments on it telling me like, oh, you must just be using it wrong, or you're just doing this and that, and you know, obviously saying that it's my fault, which I play with palettes all the time, guys, and I try my best to make a palette work. I don't like not liking what I spent a lot of money on. So, you know, I do feel for the people who do have bad palettes. I understand it's not always user fault. It can be production error. So hopefully all that mess gets sorted out. As for my palette, since, you know, that's obviously only what I can speak for, I'm loving mine, and I hope you guys end up with palettes that you like as well. I hate for people to spend their money on something, be excited about something, only to be let down. So, you know, I always feel kind of scared to give good reviews on things that other people review negatively, because I don't want people to spend their hard-earned money on something and then be disappointed and be like, well, Zen said no. With this one, if you guys are kind of iffy about it, I would suggest waiting till it's in store, maybe swatching them out, or maybe purchasing it from the store, so if you know that it is a dud right away, you can maybe exchange it for another one. I don't know. I guess I would just be kind of cautious about this palette maybe. Anyway, that's what I have to say about it. Let's get into the swatches. right, guys, you heard my thoughts, you saw the swatches. Now I want to hear you guys sound off. Are y'all planning on getting this? I'm interested to see what the comments say. I know that there are some of you who are probably kind of wary and kind of cautious about this, which I can completely understand. But anyway, I want to know what you think about it. And if you do own it, I want to know what your thoughts are on it too. I'm really curious. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please thumbs up, please subscribe if you have not already. And until next time, guys, goodbye.